personal accountability. It's a word that gets thrown around, or we all think we do a very good job of that. But are you happy with the person that you see in the mirror? That's really what personal accountability means. Are you delivering what you should be delivering to those close to you, those you interact with at work? The reason why this topic came up was I brought in Marc McGurren, who travels around the United States with his company, helping teams perform better and focusing on the leaders, because a lot of times the leaders don't understand how to hold their team accountable and hold themselves accountable to develop this. And along this conversation, Marc was brave enough to share how he had to look in the mirror for himself personally because he was letting alcohol get in the way of his life. So that accountability allowed him to look in the mirror and say, is this the direction I want? Because I need to take charge so that I can be better for my family, better for myself, better for my company, better for my clients. And so for the past 4 years, he has been sober, and he shares that story of what it took and how that his journey could help others, be it that they are the cause of toxicity in the workplace, they're working in a toxic workplace, relationship, you name it. Personal accountability is not as easy as it sounds. And I want to thank Marc for his bravery of being so open to share his journey with us. So let's dive into today's episode of You're in Charge, Conversations That Spark Change with Marc McGurren. All right, Marc. So just for transparency, we've known each other for a very long time, and I've seen your journey as a leader, someone who, when we were working together, you took over a whole division, built a division. So I want to talk about that. You're out working with teams, building teams, making teams more successful. So in your mind, when you're arriving to work with a team who's asked you to come in, what are some of the key things that are missing that either the previous leader either didn't know how to do or just took their eye off the ball?
A great question, Glenn. Yeah, and so we've known each other for quite a while, and it's been fun working with you and the team and doing what I do now. And that's one of the biggest things I focus on is building sustainability. As a consultant that comes in and trains, my job is to work myself out of a job. And one way to do that is through accountability, is through sustainability. And the biggest thing that I've found when working with dealers and teams all across the country is the fact of a lot of folks don't know how to hold their team accountable at a high level. And what they'll do, they'll have a meeting here, a meeting there, but it's not ingrained in their culture. Accountability, coaching, training is not, consistent. And so that's one of the biggest things that I'm a huge proponent on, is that sustainability and accountability. And so getting a routine in place, getting literally a process in place for the manager to coach, train, and lead that team on a daily basis. And so I found most teams aren't being held accountable to the high level that I believe they want to be held to.
Right.
I think people thrive in structure. People thrive in that ability. Now, not micromanaging, but with that managing, with that leading, and with that coaching on a daily basis.
Okay, so there's a couple things to unpack.
Okay.
One is you mentioned there's not a process for training. There's a process for doing a lot of times. Let's just assume that if I'm on the team and here's my job description, someone has written out a process for me to say, here are the things your daily, your job is supposed to be. But what you're saying is that a lot of times we don't have a process where the leader of that team, the manager of that team has a schedule or a process of, one, how to train someone or hold people accountable. Number two is how often. So in your opinion, how often should, or when you're saying someone's holding them accountable, how often should a manager be inspecting or coaching, developing to help their team become better?
It's a great question. And I think depending on what that team is doing, from an automotive process standpoint, it allows for a daily basis. So it allows you to go in from following up with a consumer that there's so many opportunities that if you don't hold your team accountable on a daily basis, you look up and you go, holy crap, it's the middle of the month and we aren't selling any cars. Well, why? We got complacent. We got in the routine of just doing, right? Because that's what I find. A lot of people come in, well, I'll do my job. I punch, not theoretically, they punch in, punch out, right? And I check the box, right? Well, I did what I'm supposed to do. Well, technically, yes, you check the box, but did you move that ball forward? Did you do everything you're capable of doing to complete your job, you know, to the best of your ability, versus just doing it to say, yeah, I did it.
Okay. So in that point, you know, my wife, who used to be in sales, she used to always say, the further away you get from the money, the less important, not you are, but your job. Yeah. So really, if you're like in your example here, if I'm in sales or I'm close to customer interaction, right? They're interacting face-to-face in retail, be it hospitality, be it sales. That needs more inspection because the interaction's happening all the time. So we need to make sure we're delivering the right customer experience, or to your point is they're executing at a high level to generate opportunities to sell.
Right, absolutely. You know, and so to full circle back to your question, I think it's a daily that, you know, the closer you are to that money, that customer facing, it allows you, I mean, you're in Best Buy, right? If you're wear a blue shirt in Best Buy, that's training all the time, right? You have that opportunity every single day with so many customers. And so with that said, is if it's further away, I think that's either way. I can't speak to the project, but I will say this, is that most employees need that structure. Most employees need that ability. Teams need that ability to where we're keeping them on path. Now, are you going, did you do XYZ today? Did you do XYZ today? Probably not necessarily the further away that structure is, but again, it is that accountability, that touch and base. And this is the thing that I found, is that it shows the team that you care, number one, right? You know, and two is that you are watching, right? What they're doing matters. You know, I think a lot of times what happens is these employees, these team, you know, these folks that are working, it's like, I'm doing my job, right? It doesn't really matter, right?
So on that point then, it ties into what you had said earlier. So if I'll be the counterpoint to this, a manager or someone there, you come in to give me this advice and they say, well, that's micromanaging, or they're adults, they should know. So in your mind, what's the difference between micromanaging versus what you're talking about is helping people be accountable to excellence, let's say, every day?
That's a great question. I think that micromanaging, from my own perspective, is someone literally watching every move. It's nitpicking everything, right? Of analyzing and then walking you through every nuance of the task or the job you're completing.
Right.
Whereas that leading, managing, and accountability is you're giving that team the freedom to do their job. What you're doing is you're looking at, depending on what your key performance indicators are, your KPIs, you're watching their KPIs on a daily basis. You're looking at their activities on a daily basis. And if needed, right, you are watching what they're doing, right, from that, in their mind, potentially nitpicking, but you're not side by side with them. You are watching their task. You are ensuring they are on task. And so you're not over their shoulder, henpecking them. But from afar, you're able to see what they're doing and if they're on task. But this is the thing that what I found is a lot of managers will look from afar. They are checking the boxes, right? They're doing what they should be doing. And, you know, it's the old saying, the devil's in the details. You do need to ensure, to get the highest level of execution from your team, are they doing it with excellence? And sometimes that does, you know, especially that customer facing, that forward facing, it's nuances, it's finding those areas of opportunity that, unless you're watching that conversation or listening to that conversation, you miss out on that. They do what they're supposed to do, but it's in those moments you're able to coach them going, hey, and this is the kicker of what I find of leading. When they are able to do what they're doing, you ask them the question, why? Not in a condescending way. Hey,
Right.
hey, Glenn, is there a reason we did X? And this is the key in how you grow your team is they'll tell you why. If you're genuinely interested in going, hey, why did we do this? They'll tell you, and you go, you know what? That's a great, your thinking is 100% correct, right? Let me show you a better way to execute that job. And what you're doing is, and with that daily coaching and thinking, what I like to say is I want to change how people think in the sense that of their execution. Because if I can change how they think, right, and what they're doing, right, it becomes ingrained in who they are. It's there. It's not just saying, Mark, I'm doing what you're telling me to do. I'm doing X, right, and then just kind of go through the motions.
Yeah. So so where I'm hearing what I love about this is, so what we're saying is the initial laying out of the tasks, you have to be involved, right? So that could be saying micromanaging, meaning that I have to show them. So I have to be there. I have to watch you, but eventually you have to back away.
Correct.
The danger is I can look across the room and you could look busy.
Absolutely.
But I'm not necessarily sure 100% you're doing everything correctly, or how could I be better, which goes back to what you were saying initially, is we have to create a process to say there's a difference between daily observation, right? Thinking of a coach on the sidelines, watching the play happen, right? So I'm watching it, but then I have to break it down and find times during my week to one-on-one, let's look at the tape. Let's listen to the calls. Let's walk you through your process so that you're constantly tweaking their, as you said, their mind to understand new opportunities, how to add to their toolbox of things that they can execute to deliver results. But it's this balance of breaking down the thought of a manager is, if I'm doing one-on-one or if I'm giving that detailed feedback, that's micromanaging. In reality, it sounds from your perspective, that's just good coaching and developing your people to grow.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing, Glenn, and that's how you create that sustainability we're talking about. You put in that process, you put in whether you have a CRM, right? Put in that process in your CRM. If you don't have that, depending on your what you're doing, it's in your schedule. It's a non-negotiable time,
right,
that you will spend time managing your time. And this is the thing, and this goes back to the accountability of the leader, right? And so it's one thing to hold that team accountable and to do that, but then it's sporadic. I don't have time to train. Well, I'm too busy. I don't have time to train. The best teams I've ever found literally train on a daily basis. The leader of that organization believes in training. The leader of that organization it's ingrained in what they do. And that's that accountability we're talking about, because they realize that it's gotta be on the forefront of what you're doing every single day.
So what you're saying is, in this situation, these leaders look at training to say that goes on my schedule first. Yeah. And then I work everything else around that, where I know I have to work with each person individually once a week, twice a month, whatever the number is. But again, I think this is that pivot, like you're saying, where if I'm investing in people this way, then they want me to come. Like you said, it's almost, you're encouraging that interest. You're encouraging if not, when I see you as the leader coming, my first reaction is, what did I do wrong? Mark's coming. What did I do wrong? Right. Versus Mark's coming like a good coach who's going to say, this is great. Here's where we can work on. I'm here to help you. But do you think that's hard to break for someone who never received it themselves? Meaning they're mimicking what they saw previously, and they're saying, well, no one ever did that to me. And look at me now. So that style must work.
So I was not involved in that. I had from my leader perspective. Now I had peers that kind of took me under their wing.
Right.
I had to seek that out. But no, I remember I'm an automotive, and just like you said, I remember where my office was, it was a glass wall. If I saw that dealer coming towards me, I'm like, oh man, what did I do? Because it was like, what's wrong? Because it was never a pop in, even check on you. It was, we got to talk, right? Versus it's a normal thing. And so I learned with that particular dealer is to see, I was proactive with that dealer, but I was never trained. My training was go follow Don Griffin and do what he does. That was my training. And so it is difficult. And the reason, and this is what I help folks do, is there is so many times where you have that innate ability, right? You've been successful, you're a great salesperson, you do get, your raise, your promotion, but they never were done that. They never were taught that, right? And they don't know how to train, how to coach, right? What to look for. And so what I've done, and actually you helped me create that years ago, was a literal checklist, right? From your time in the call centers, many, many years ago, of going, let's go through, did they do X, Y, Z? And if you looked at that piece of paper, you could take a look at it. It's a micromanaging. It's not for necessarily for the person you're coaching. It's for a playbook, if you will, right? For the one coaching, right? It gives them that structure. It gives them, because again, it's like, oh, hey, Mark, I want to train. I believe you, Glenn. I want to do this. Now what?
Right. And I agree. And that's sort of, as I say a lot of times on this show, that's the reason why I started this. Was there are a lot of people who get promoted. Like you say, I'm a very good salesperson. I'm a very good XYZ, whatever my job is. And now all of a sudden I'm in charge of people and everyone goes, figure it out, versus really, right, understanding how to coach, how to develop, what is the boundary or that line of feeling that I'm micromanaging or I'm defaulting to what I was trained, which was a lot of times just telling people what to do or yelling at people to get performance, versus coaching and developing. I want to pivot because you mentioned something and I don't want it to slide by.
Yeah.
Is that idea of complacency, or not complacency, success. When all of a sudden you're starting to hit success, so you've put in this time and you're coaching your people and you're following your coaching schedule, and you have your checklist, and I know I have to talk to Mark and I'm doing it, and all of a sudden the results start showing up.
Right.
I've seen it, and you probably have too, is all of a sudden we take that success for granted, or we take the team's performance for granted, where we stop doing the things that got us there. And next thing you know, it starts to creep, performance creeps down a little bit, and we can blame it on a lot of things. We can blame it on the economy. We can blame it on the competitors. We can blame it on everything. But all of a sudden you wake up and you go, whoa, what happened? So talk about that. And again, complacency is a bad word, but maybe it's just our focus shifts to something else because we think that's okay. They're all right. They don't need me as much now. And
yeah. It's like, they've got their wings, they're flying, they're good, and so what I like to say, that term I like to use actually is process erosion. Because this is what happens when you start, because it starts eroding, right? We're doing great. We're being successful. This is winning. Guess what? We kind of get too big for our britches sometimes. Right. Where we think, we got this, it's easy, it's like, everything we're doing, we're hitting gold. And you move away from the basics, and what happens is you find those wins. Absolutely. It's like, whether it be good or lucky. Well, yeah, you're going to be lucky. Luck can only last so long. Right. And so as you're doing it and you look up and you go, holy crap, what's going on? And that is the key as a leader, as someone that coaches and trains, is that I don't care how good it is going to be, you've got to act and coach like it's going to end, right? This isn't this, is that to be successful, if I want to be, I'll put it this way, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, right? I am a Dallas Cowboys fan, but you got to give credit to credit due, where with Tom Brady, he is older than me. He's 43 years old, right? And operating at such a high level right now that he doesn't sit there and go in the off season and go, I'm good, man. What does
Right.
he do? Month in, month out. I mean, he's micromanaging his nutrition. Now, granted, he's got all the money in the world to find the coaches and
Right.
whatnot,
But to your point, like, again, that I think you just said it. He invests in coaches, right? And to what you had
absolutely.
said, if I wasn't getting the coaching, so for those of you listening, this is a very important point. What Mark said earlier was, I wasn't getting it from my leader. I had to seek it out. If you want to be successful, if you're in a situation where, don't blame the leader who's above your team that they're not helping you, right? They may not know. So
Correct.
you have to go out and find ways or reach out to other people in your organization to say, can you help me? Can you coach me, mentor me? There's this podcast. There's a lot of other podcasts.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of books on how to do this. But to your point is, it's almost like Groundhog's Day in a weird
Yeah.
way without it getting boring. That commitment of every day saying, I'm doing my best, as if the results from yesterday, they're done. So what's in front of me? Did I make those phone calls? Did I greet that customer? Did I deliver excellence? Did I do my best today? I think that is a question that often we start saying, yeah, but we won. It's okay. But we won. It doesn't matter, but it does.
And this is where it comes back to discipline, because not every day, not every play is a touchdown, is a success. Not every day you're going to sell something. Not every day is a win, and I started selling literally when I was 19 years old, started selling appliances and vacuum cleaners at Sears. And if I sold something that day, I was, whoa, yeah. If I didn't sell anything that day, and I remember my girlfriend at the time, she goes, you got to like not let your sales affect your mood. And it was at 19, 20 years old. I was like, that's true. It's like, and that's the discipline. Am I moving, going back to the football analogy, if I'm going to do the right things every day, not every day is going to be a quote unquote win, but in the now from
is that again, because you said it twice, and then you had someone help you pivot it. You were basing your worth, your success on a sale versus
correct
effort, the actions, right? So yes, you may not. So to your football analogy, I'm not going to try and score a touchdown every play. I just need to get 10 yards and I get 4 more plays. And then, but eventually 100%. I run out of real estate and I score. So 100%. Is it that celebrating, trying to find celebration or fulfillment in the fact that I did these small actions today as best?
That's how you create the sustainability 110%, because you're not going to have a sale every single day. You're not going to have whatever quote unquote the end result is happen every day, but you can move that ball forward. That's literally my analogy is, are you moving your business forward? Are you doing what you should be doing to get to that end goal? Whatever that may be, whether it's a project. Did I get closer to my project with excellence?
And so is that, so then for your leaders then, is that seems to be a mindset too, because a lot of leaders of teams only celebrate the wins versus the actions that get there. And there's a balance of that. You don't want to get so happy about, oh, you just made a good phone call versus, hey, we do have to sell, or we do have to, retain our customers at the restaurant, or we have to deliver great experience at the hotel because we want people to come back. But if it's only wins, there can be frustration or not a belief in the actions anymore. And then it's, oh, well, I can't do this job and now I have turnover.
Right. And I think that's what you do. Whatever your KPIs are, you're watching that. I mean, typically, whether that is activity, what's their activities for that day? If it's sales, what leads up to that sales? Is it the people in the showroom floor? Is it appointments? Is it connections? And you celebrate those wins. I did commercial real estate for a couple of years, and it was a long-term play, meaning that I'm not calling people and they're buying or selling. I got to build a relationship. And so in order to not get burnt out, in order to not, say, what am I doing every single day, is you got to celebrate those small wins. Without those small wins, that's how you can get burnt out, going, what the heck am I doing every single day? I didn't win. I didn't do X. And one of the things I train my teams is you do the right things over and over and over and over. Because when you do right things, more right things will happen.
Well, I like that. I like
You
that.
know,
Yeah.
more right things will happen. And what I'd also do is speak in probability and possibility. All I want to do is increase the probability of what I want to happen will happen. Again, or do I make it possible? For example, if I call a customer 5 times or call them 1 time, the probability I'm going to connect with that consumer, obviously 5 times, is much higher.
Right.
So everything I'm doing is increase that probability factor. I want to follow that process from that customer. I want to smile, right? Right. I mean, all the small things
Lead up to it. They all connect. So let me ask you just one thing on this, and then we'll move to a different topic. But I've noticed, and I'd love your opinion on this. When teams win, let's say a team had a good month, right? In automotive, good sales, a strong weekend at a retail store, whatever the win is.
Okay.
Do you think that leaders discuss or dive into what caused that as much as they would if they missed their mark?
Not at all, unfortunately. I think good leaders will. I'll rephrase that in the sense that because there's always typically something. Yeah, you can get lucky, right? That's a blue moon. You're going, I don't know what the heck worked, but it worked.
Right.
But for the majority, I don't believe in luck. I like making my own luck to land, right? And so I look at what did we do? Was our marketing different? Did we make more phone calls? Was our team on point? You know, did we watch? Were they greeted properly? Did they go through the steps? And so usually what happens though is when we have a bad weekend, we go, what happened, guys? What's going on? Versus we look at a good weekend. I already know in automotive, if we're gonna have a good weekend, if we've got a ton of appointments, a lot of confirmations, all the activity we've been doing the week before has been building up to that.
So what you're saying is if we have a great weekend, we want to not just high five. Yes, we can high five, but then we need to go back and pause and just say, okay, folks, what did we do? Even if it wasn't, what did we do differently? What did we do to generate this, to reinforce those actions? So we go, okay, let's repeat those actions again versus let's go do it again. And people go, I don't know what I did, but we did okay. So it's up to the leader to really get back to what you were saying. What are the actions that are causing these results? Make sure everybody knows what they did so that we can repeat those actions, or at least attempt to repeat those actions so that we can generate similar success.
And the exact word is reinforcement, right? You're reinforcing the good. Right. And this brought me up from our book that's right behind you, the red cover back there. I coined the term self-policing recognition. And what I mean by that is post results. Right. Post up how everyone's doing. What are your KPIs? What's going on? And you don't have to go over it every single day. But by allowing folks to see how they're doing in comparison to their peers, right, they're going to go, it's going to be self-policing. Is what happens is when you have a good culture, right, and not a dissension, but it's that friendly competition. It's like, Glenn, I'm doing better than you, or
they'll help motivate each other. You can almost stay out of the way a little bit.
Absolutely, and I've learned that many years ago, but when you have that culture, they want to push each other. Right. And then they start talking trash in a friendly way. Yeah. Right. They're going, I got this one. I got this. Oh, you got this, and that what creates culture, right? That you're able to celebrate that. And the folks are in the bottom, right? That's how you're able to find and coach them, right? Of how well they're doing and how not well they're doing, and you're gonna coach them from there.
But what I love about that too is you're focusing on, again, the KPIs or the pieces to the result. You're not just saying, well, here's the end result and list that. We're going backwards to say, here's all the pieces, because then it helps you as a leader to be able to target what each individual needs. You might be struggling with step 2. I'm struggling with step 4. Instead of just making a blanket statement, it allows you as a leader to really, again, be accountable for your actions, meaning my checklist means I have to go coach them to get them better, but diving in to be able to see, well, what do I need to work on with each individual? So, so on that point of personal accountability, and you were, when we first were talking about coming on, personal accountability means everything, meaning your whole life. And you have always been very successful, with all the teams you're working with. And, you posted something the other day on Facebook, and I knew about it, but a lot of people I don't think did. And you were very, in my opinion, very brave to stand out there and basically, shared your taking charge of your personal life in terms of your drinking, some of the personal things that were going on. And I remember the time when it was happening, you just got to a point of saying, listen, this is no longer acceptable. And the reason why I would love to discuss this is because I'm sure there's a lot of people who have not just that issue, but other issues of behavior, or be it just, I talk down to my people, I yell at my people. I don't think I'm, someone was saying the other day when I was interviewing them, the leader I was when I started versus 15 years into it, because I wouldn't have worked for me. I would have left, right? I would have quit on me. Exactly. He said, I was that leader that everyone hated because I just yelled, until someone helped me understand that. And I took charge of that. I took accountability. So walk me through that, because I think there's a lot in it to help a lot of people who, one, may not understand it, and number two is take charge of how you did take charge, so that they can say, well, I could take charge of X in my life just as well.
Absolutely. And so the post that, Glenn, you're referring to is, it was back in August that I posted, I'm 4 years sober. And my heart behind it was, for the longest time, I was ashamed of my alcoholism. I was ashamed of, this is who I am, or what I've become, or all the negative connotations that takes on. And it sucked. I wasn't proud. I was 38, 39 years old, and I went to rehab. And that was hard. I'm already getting emotional now, but because I don't look up, and because from the outside looking in, wonderful marriage, 3 kids, successful, working with you and Brian. I mean, everything from the outside, literally from the world's perspective,
right?
The world was, I wasn't going to the bottle, for lack of a better term, because I was, oh my gosh, I got to, appease the day. I started going to the bottle, and long story short is, one thing I learned was that they said in rehab was, alcohol will do what it does every single time. It gets you the results you want.
Right.
There's no black and white going, if I do this, what's going to happen this time? No, right. It's the most consistent thing in the world, because it's going to do what it is designed to do. And so I was looking up, I was 38, 39, and I remember, Glenn, looking in the mirror, and it didn't happen overnight. Same thing of how you kind of get out of whack from a perspective. You don't just turn into an alcoholic of one drink or one binge drinking of, I was a binge drinker. I wasn't at the end, I started drinking more every day, but you started turning to that, and it was a slow progress, ramped up by many life events and whatnot. But I remember looking in the mirror going, I recognize, Glenn, and I even said to myself, I don't know if I said it out loud, but at least said in my head, is I'm living a destructive life. I was aware of, I'm on a wrong path. I was aware of that, and praise the Lord that I had an amazing supportive wife that walked alongside with me through that. But the whole idea behind that post was to let others know that they're not alone. Because for the longest time, I did feel alone. And that's why support groups, Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, any type of those events are so successful, because you can feel like you're on an island,
right?
Of something's wrong with me, I'm broke, right? That you're ashamed of that. And even going to AA, right? stepping out. It's like you got your family of AA folks, right? Where people share the same struggles, they speak your language, but going outside of that, this stigma, at least in my mind, was not good. And I'll probably get choked up telling the story, but I remember making that post, and I've been thinking about it a while to post it. And I posted it on Facebook, and Glenn, within 10 minutes, I called Amber, my wife, bawling. The amount of likes, comments, I'm proud of you, you're amazing. All this was so overwhelming that I was like, holy crap, it's almost, why haven't I shared this sooner? You know, in the sense that
because you weren't ready to share it.
I wasn't ready, but what I was amazed through that was that I had so many people, Mark, I'm struggling to message me, right? I'm literally going to rehab in 4 days. Someone I used to work with. Mark, I'm in rehab right now. I had a gentleman text me, call me, a buddy of mine from many years ago. Mark, I didn't see your post, but someone told me about it. I was in rehab when you got it. And I was able to walk alongside them, similar lives going, I would have never thought, right? I couldn't believe it. You don't know what you're going through. And I think that's, to do full circle, full accountability is, I knew the path I was on. I was on the path to literally lose everything in my life. You know,
so let me ask you this, because again, and as I had shared with you, I was very proud of you. And as I said, I remember the whole time, but you know, taking a step back from alcohol, because that's one, but there's a lot of people who, as we were talking earlier about that gentleman who was a manager who sees the toxic behavior that they're exhibiting to other people, but they don't know how to get out of it. They don't know how to ask for help. They're seeing that there's turnover in their business. They're seeing that nobody wants to work for them. They see that they're afraid when they walk around. It could be food and your diet. It could be extra. There's a million, you know, just your relationship, you know, with your wife or husband, and you're out doing things you shouldn't be doing, and you're ashamed. And it's, so the question would be for that, someone who's feeling that right now, what was the, you know, was there a trigger that finally said, this is it? Was it someone else? What's the one where you finally said, I can't go down? Because I'm familiar, listen, I have 3 brothers who are, you know, alcoholics, have gone through it and they've been sober, and I'm so proud of them as well. So I've been around it, and I've seen the trigger where it was like, you got to the edge. You didn't go completely, but you got there.
Right.
So if someone's listening to this, and again, it might be, because you can talk yourself out of it, like, oh, it's not that bad.
Oh, absolutely.
So talk to me about that journey of talking yourself out of it. Again, in your case, it was alcohol. Other people may have other things where you're convincing yourself it's not that bad. But what is that point for you? And then what gave you the strength to say, I have to change?
I'll put it this way. I Googled, how do you know if you're drinking too much? I swear, if you're having to talk yourself out of something, if you're having to go, it's not that bad. And because this is, and I share that because I'm like, oh my gosh, Mark, that was a clue for even my own self. I mean, if you're having to talk yourself through it, of that toxic food, alcohol, relationships, your ability of coaching, you fill in that blank. If you're having to actively, mentally walk you through, something's broke.
So what you're saying there, because there was someone who I had talked to, they were working in a toxic environment, right? It wasn't good. They knew, but it was that you're almost, what it sounds like is you're asking, how bad does it have to be?
Yes.
Right? Or you're trying to convince yourself that it's not that bad, right? By Googling those things. Well, it's not really bad yet, or it's not bad, or I'm okay, or look at all the good, and you're trying to either, I don't want to say distract yourself, but talk yourself out, because maybe there's fear on the other side of the decision, or you're fearful of the unknown on the other side of that decision.
100%. I mean, that's the key, right? Is that it's that fear of the unknown. What if I do get help? What's going to happen? What if I make that decision to get out of that toxic relationship? What's going to happen?
Right.
You know, and you get stuck and you accept good enough. You accept bad enough because that's what you know.
Right.
Right. And you're conditioned to it. People around you are conditioned to it. But this is the thing, is I knew prior, right? It wasn't like I look up and I got drunk one night and, oh my gosh, got to go. No, it was a constant look in my wife's eyes of hurt, things that I said that I don't remember, literally. And there were so many times where, if this is the most important person in the world, why am I continuing to hurt this person?
Right.
Why am I and a lot of times that's yourself too. If maybe you're not hurting someone else, but I bet you are. I bet you are, because let's say you're in that toxic job or you're that toxic leader, you're hurting others. You're not making people their best selves or your best self. And for me, there wasn't I mean, it really was, there was a line in the sand. I became blackout drunk on my wife's birthday, you know, and you look up and it's going, there's got to be a change. And I knew at that it was a no-brainer, because I was broke, you know, and I hope no one has to get to the point to where there's that chance where I got that buddy that was in rehab that called me and he says, my wife wants a divorce.
Right.
And I thank the Lord I wasn't there, because I think he let it go that long. I don't know, you know, a distant friend. And I'll say this, is that if you feel like it's bad enough, well, you're listening to this podcast, number one, right? So you are seeking to better yourself. If you're having to look up and go, is this who you want to be at? Is this who you want to be at whatever your age is? Is this the relationship? Because I promise you, it can be better.
Right.
4 years on the other side, I wish I would have got sober many, many years ago. Sober Mark is a much happier place. Like, literally, we got drunk Mark over here and sober Mark. That's what my wife and I call me. I don't want to go back. I don't want to, yeah, I do miss a good glass of wine, right? That's really all I miss. But is it worth that? Heck to the no, because I'm in a much happier place. I'm a much better version of who I want to be at, because I looked in that mirror and going, am I the father that I want to be at? No. Am I the husband? Am I just the plain man that I want to be at?
Right.
No. And so now, yeah, oh, am I in utopia? Heck no. My wife will tell you no, no. But I'm a much better version of who I am. There's not something in my way in that perspective that's getting me, preventing me from being it. Now it's all me. Now it's my habits. Now I'm in control of what I am, you know? And so,
and I think that's a really good point. I don't mean to interrupt, but I like that. What you just said is that I'm in control, because there's a lot of people who are in these situations, whatever the situation is, you know, I'm creating a bad work environment. I work in a bad work environment, relationship, whatever it is. There's a sense of, well, I don't have a choice, or this is all I know. And I think going back to that fear of, you know, the fear of the other side, or actually, you know, it's the fear of confronting yourself, I think, because I think when you have to go through this, I've talked to my brothers, even for me, you know, going back to therapy to talk about, you know, things, you know, it's just that fear of holding the mirror up to yourself and saying, why is this happening? Why am I doing this? And taking, again, going back to accountability and responsibility, that's really what this is. This is true responsibility, that I am the boss that yells at people, because That's all I know. Well, then
Yeah.
how do you fix that? Go out and get training and become the better person. Well, what if it doesn't get the results? Well, you're losing people,
Right.
and you're wasting time retraining people because you're driving them out the door, or be it your weight, or just, tired of not feeling good. There's people who go on the diets and finally say, I'm exercising because I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, right? That type of mentality. So to that point, to the people who are here listening, who one say, I don't know how to change that, or I'm afraid to look inside. Well, what do you say to that? I mean, because again, they have to be ready to do it, but at the same moment in time, that is the secret that unlocks the other side.
I mean, that's you can lead a horse to water,
right?
Make a drink, and so this is the thing I'd say to anyone, whatever the situation is life can be richer. Life can be, if you're struggling with those things, right, it can be better. And you have to be brave enough to take that first step. You have to be brave enough to go, you know what? I am tired of drunk Mark, right? Unhealthy, fill in the blank, toxic, whatever that case is. And this has consumed me long enough. And that doesn't have to be that long. It doesn't have to be a long road. But you've got to sit there and realize there's life on this other side. There's richness, there's fulfillment, there is happiness. You rephrase that, there's joy. Right. Because I think joy can come inside your life. Happiness is fleeting, right? I sold a car, high five, that's happy, right? That high won't stay there. But that joy of life, of richness, of fulfillment, of, I guess just knowing who you are and being content with who you are as a person. There's no other things. Am I perfect? No, but I promise you this, is that I'm much more content. I'm much more, I'm a much better place now than I was 4 years ago, than I was 3 years ago.
Right. And complacency, people don't get it wrong. Complacency doesn't mean you're not challenging yourself and pushing yourself. What that means is contentment means I feel in control of movement, and I don't have to, there's nothing else to stop me from continuing on the path to find a better version of myself and growing. That other path wasn't. That path was, putting bad Band-Aids, and I wasn't looking, and it was just finding ways to distract myself from the reality that, if it's in your head, to your point where you're Googling, what is this, or how do I get out of this? I have seen it with my brothers, and I see the transformation for you. The people on the other side who are there to help you will show up. Absolutely. When you make that commitment to step in that direction. They're waiting for you over there. They're not going to come and drag you, because in a lot of cases they've already tried to, or tell you, and you're like, la, 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 I'm not listening. I got it. But once you do that, the support will be there. I've seen it countless times. The person who was leaving a toxic work environment, the amount of people who are willing to help as soon as she said, yeah, I got to go. Like this. And so you have to open yourself up to that possibility to allow others to come in and help you. That, to your point, that's what all of the, AA is, and some of these other, they're there to help you because they've been there. They're a little further down the road possibly to help you, but you have to be willing, and it's not easy, and it's a constant commitment, but it's a far better path. It's a better way to truly be accountable to yourself, and to be present for other people.
Absolutely. And I think it's what you have to do. You're exactly right. The support system that when I shared that, was amazing. But even before that, I stood on the shoulders of those that have gone before me. And I was able to sit there and walk alongside folks in AA. Right. When I was in my rehab, the folks most of people there, right, had addictions before, right? And that's their heart behind it. And so you're able to walk alongside these folks. And that's the scary part, is making that final decision to make a change, to be
Yes.
better. Right. And I think that's the key. And
Well, you have those prejudgments. I remember one of my brothers was telling me, because he went and he said the judgment, you had mentioned it earlier, especially regarding alcohol, you think, oh, if you have a problem with alcohol, you're not strong, you're a loser, you're XYZ. But when all of a sudden you go to these meetings, AA, or you go to these and you see people who are, and you said it perfectly earlier, from outside perspective, they're successful. They have everything. They're, they've got the great job. They got the 2 houses and cars and their big title, but something inside of them is not right. And they're using, in this case, alcohol to dull that. And all of a sudden that stigma goes away, because you see all of these people that in passing from the outside, they look great, but they have something that they need help with. And so that allowed at least my brothers to step through to go, oh, it's not a loser condition.
Yeah, you're not the bum on the side of the road. You're not the bum on the side of the road with the sign, with the bottle. I saw literal grandma, and there was the sweetest lady that was in rehab, and I thought she was working there. No, this was like my grandma that was in rehab, and it's just going, wow, I was amazed at the type of people. There's no discrimination, from there, but everyone did reach out, and they had to make that decision for themselves. They had to go, I want to be better. I got to change, because their family has tried. You tried every cotton picking way to fix what's broke, and it hasn't worked. I've had people ask me through that post, how have you not drank? And there was this person that was struggling. I could tell that's like, they were where I was at. It's like, I'm not an alcoholic, but I want to drink less. Like they weren't there because they're like, well, I need to drink less.
Yeah, they're negotiating.
If you're asking an alcoholic how to drink less, you're Googling, am I drinking too much? And so how do I, and one of the things that they were asking, I was like, well, what do I do? Right? How do I stay busy? And, and so I get that, but reach out, find others that have gone before you, find the folks, and let's go back to leadership, right? Right. If you don't have those around you, you're obviously listening to this podcast, read, right? This is where I was going to go back to and full back, because what's going to happen is we usually share our successes on social media. Right. And so many times we can get stuck of going, well, look at Glenn, look at Brian, look at Tim, look at this, right? And we're all happy and smiley and they got all their crap together. And that's why I posted that.
Yeah.
Right. That's really was because you would go back and look at all my timeline for the last, since I've been social media, there's been very little failures. Right. It was, and that's the thing, is that we get this perception that social media, right, distorts reality, distorts what people have together, distorts everything. Look at this success, look at this, look at that. And you're going, it literally can really mess with your mind.
Oh, no, there's studies that we're talking about, teens, excuse me, especially young girls, suicide rates are because of Instagram and the bodies and I'll never be there, or, it's because everyone's posting everything great. The social media can just reinforce that, well, either I don't have it or I'm okay, or you just don't want to put a negative thing out there. Right. But I agree with you. I mean, if you're asking yourself the question about anything right across your whole life, if you're saying, why are people quitting on me all the time? Why do I have turnover in my company? There's something that someone's doing. There are actions that are causing that unrest. And eventually someone has to hold the mirror up and take accountability for it to say, hey, it could be me. And then you have to say, where can I get help? And if it's not internal to your business, then there are places that you can go and hire a coach or go. But if you really want to change, sometimes it takes you getting fired for you to wake up. Sometimes it's, Tony Robbins used to always say, people don't change until they have to change, right? People don't lose weight till the doctor says, hey, if you don't, and to your point is, outside influences or yourself told yourself, okay, this is it. So that accountability has to come if you want to, or else again, it is, you are the master of your life, and you can blame and point fingers all you want, but you're the one who got you here. All of your actions got to where you are today, and all your actions are going to get you to where you're going to be a year from now. So the question is, do you want to be in a different place a year from now?
Absolutely. And I think, and that's what you do is, for me, that yes, I was drunk on my wife's birthday, blackout drunk multiple times before, but I had to figure out, what is my why?
Mm-hmm.
My why is the person that I just disappointed on her birthday.
Right.
My why are those 3 kids. My why is that, period, end of story. And I'm jeopardizing that with my actions.
Right.
And it finally got to the point of going, you know what? I don't know what's about to happen, but I do know if that's my why, I got to get help. I got to change.
Yes.
I got to change. And
before they change, and you may not like the change they make.
100%. And I think that's the same. That could go to any type of relationship.
Yep.
Like any type of addiction, any type of job. I mean, I know people getting divorced after 38 years. They're almost 70 years old. And because they allowed stuff, and it finally boiled up to that boiling point.
Yep.
Why it took that long? I don't know. But they are. And guess what? Life is richer from that toxic environment. I'm not saying to get a divorce. I'm just saying there was such a toxic environment.
No, I agree. I think toxicity can be masked for a long time. You can laugh it off, slough it off, excuse it off, but eventually it catches up to you somehow, because the ball just keeps rolling more and more and more without you even knowing it. And that's the few things that I learned from my brothers, is that it grows. It has a life of its own. To your point, alcohol does what it's going to do. And when you do more of it, it's going to do what it does. And eventually your body's either going to give out, or, the people around you are going to give out. And that's not a great place. So again, first off, I just want to thank you so much for sharing this.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to share this because I think the honesty and what you brought today was great. So at the end of all of our episodes, we do a little thing called, just sort of fun, quick questions behind the mic, get to know Mark, like lighten the mood before we leave. So quick questions, don't overthink them. We talk, so it's basically focused on, I call it the one. So one food you cannot live without.
Cheeseburger.
Oh,
Lane, I am a hamburger, cheeseburger connoisseur.
Just cheese, nothing on it, or you stack it up?
No. I got to doctor it up. I mean, bacon, cheese. I'm a mayo guy, not a mustard guy. The best burger. I was so proud. I felt like I achieved the ultimate dad moment. I was asking my daughter Andy the other day, I was like, "What's your favorite cheeseburger?" She goes, "Yours." I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Her favorite cheese. I make a darn good cheeseburger.
There you go.
Or a hamburger, whatever you prefer. But no, just a good old fashioned burger is not fast food, but it needs to be a good burger.
No. You got to do it. All right. What's the one place you would like to visit that you haven't traveled to yet?
Greece. I think Amber and I have talked about Greece. I think that's one place that we'd love to go, or even completely different. Boston. Never been to Boston. Would love to go see.
Boston's a great city. Great city.
I would love to go there. I'd love to go to a Sox game just to say, been Fenway. I mean, it's just an iconic.
It's a great experience. And as a Yankees fan, even I say it's a great experience. So, what's one movie that you stop and watch when you run across it?
Oh, Amber can answer this one, is where any of the Bourne Ultimatum series.
Oh, yeah.
The trilogy. That is kind of like my go-to, or complete opposite, Talladega Nights. So Ricky Bobby, I think those are just
Jason
two
Bourne and
classics.
Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, Ricky Bobby.
Ricky
Those
Bobby.
are two of my absolute favorites. Absolutely.
What's something you're reading or listening to that is inspiring you that you would share with other people?
I would say that one of my favorite books that I continue, honestly, what made me think all this is You're a Badass. That's the name of the, You're a Badass at Making Money. She's the Jen Sincero, think's her name.
Don't know. Okay.
Yeah, there's two books. So there's You're a Badass, and then You're a Badass at Making Money. One is yellow, one's green. I think the green one's money. She's a comedian. Anyways, I listened to it. It's an audiobook, and she brings encouragement, empowerment, and just accountability to a new level. And she's funny as all get out too. She was living in a garage apartment and kind of woke up one day going, this has got to change. Something's got to change. And so she changed. And You're a Badass. So it's all encouragement. And that really, honestly, I read it around the time we were creating McGurren Consulting, and really empowered me going, I can do this.
Yeah.
It was a very empowering book. And
Great.
So I think and I will literally go back and listen to it and just to be encouraged from her.
We'll link it up in the show notes there too. Okay. Two more. If I got all your close friends, family together, ask them to describe you with one word, what would it be?
I would say, that's a great one. The first word that's coming out of my mouth is genuine. I think I'm a very genuine / caring individual. I truly care about others. I care about making other people feel important, loved. As stupid as it is, it's not stupid. I want to make sure people that they have value, they have worth. Mm-hmm. As small as when I'm checking out at a grocery store or anywhere, I'm not on my phone. If I'm on the phone, I literally get off because I want to connect with that person.
Right.
Just acknowledgement. We dismiss people so much that it's like they're just checking me out. I'm like, I literally will get off. I just can't do it because I'm not tooting my own horn, but I think we get used to just going, it's just someone checking me out. Right.
No, I agree. I was just traveling at a conference and I always do that too, but there was someone there who took it a step further by thanking them by name.
Yeah.
Right. Looking at their name tag and saying, thank you, Mark, or thank you very much, like your waiter, waitress, what's your name? And thanking them by name. I think that again connects even a step further. I love that. Okay. Out of all of what we talked about, and we talked about a lot today, if you were saying, what's the one thing that you would like the people listening to this to take away with them? What's the one lesson? What would you say it would be?
I would say life is better with personal accountability that you do something about. Is that it can be scary. This can go back to changing things at the work, it can go back to alcoholism, two big extremes, but both can make big changes in your life. And if you make that decision to be better, right? Decide and do something. So many people get stuck in indecision of going, well, I don't know what to do. Do something. One thing I train is action is better than inaction. Do something. Move forward. I promise you, you keep moving forward. You might not have the answer of how to coach, how to train. I am that yeller. I am that person. Keep seeking, right? And making that decision to be better than you were yesterday. Making that decision, I can't drink anymore. I'm living a destructive life. Life's better. And so I think that comes back to holding up that mirror and going, do I want to be better? Do I want to be a better version of who I am right now? At 38, 28, 22, 48, 68 years old, is this the life that I want to be at?
Right.
Or want to live? And if it's not, make that decision today to be different. and then do it, do something. And I think that's because people get stuck in that, I don't know what to do something. Reach out to, so I had so many people reach out to me from my post on, Mark, I don't know what to do. Literally so many people. And I was like, do something, go to A, but do something. I promise you, do something.
No, Tony Robbins, way back when I listened to his tapes, years and years ago, that's what he would say. He said, don't plan. What are you going to do? What's the one thing you're going to do today? Even if it's just writing down a list, even if it's getting up and going for a walk, it's something to start the action. And I love what you said about action versus inaction. There's someone who was on the podcast who said, working 100% committed to a bad process is better than 25% committed to a perfect process.
Yeah.
And I just love that. So again, Mark, thank you so much. This has been a phenomenal conversation. So where can people connect with you if they're interested in your consulting company, or even just connecting with you online?
Absolutely. So you'll post it up in there because it's harder to spell, but McGurrenConsulting.com. I try to come up with a funky name, but at the end of the day is I'm super creative with McGurrenConsulting.com.
There you go.
My name, the biggest thing that people misspell, you can find me online. It's Mark, M-E-R-C, McGurren. Just Google me. There's only one of me in the world. There is a Mark with a K, but he doesn't pop up that much. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So I'm really not on Instagram anymore. So you can find me. I'd love to connect. If you want to talk more in any way, shape, form, or fashion, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to share, because I do truly care about helping others. I am passionate.
I would, when you said the word genuine, I was going, yeah, that's a good one. I was going to say real, like you are who you are. There's no, there's no mask. There's no alter ego there. So everyone, again, thank you so much. Again, don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe and listen to this podcast wherever you listen, be it Apple, Spotify, wherever. You can also pop over to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, share this out, especially this episode. There's a lot in here. I'm sure there are people who could benefit from what Mark had to say. Also, leave a review, leave a comment. It helps spread the podcast out, but also I want to hear what you're liking as well. I know there's a lot of places that you could spend time, and the fact that you spend time today with Mark and myself means the world to me. As I say at the end of every episode, you're in charge. But now Mark's given you a few more tools to help you become better, both professionally and personally, so that you can be the better version of who you really want to be. So thanks so much for your attention. Mark, again, I appreciate your time. Love you, my friend. Be well, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you.